Buckle up, boys and girls, because class is starting and it's going to kick your ass. This is the prepared mind.
I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything. No, it really has been a tough first year for you, Mr. President. Gas is up, gas is up, gas is up, everything. Rent is up, everything, everything, everything. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is time for our monologue and your questions at the inner circle. If you're here Monday through Friday in the afternoon, you can check in live if you're a member of thepreparedmind.club or subscribestar.com. If you're having trouble logging in, Subscribestar, maybe they had a cyber attack. I doubt it, but they kind of jack things up. That's why we have two. I'm not going to rely on anyone else, right? We got the club and we've got subscribestar.com. But if you are a member there, you can be right here live daily. Now, I opened up with the idiot Biden, and gas is up, food is up, rent is up. These people in Washington are so detached from reality. I'm going to give you a beautiful example. In the meantime, I would like for you to get your questions into the comment section. A lot of stuff is going on this week. We've got banks teetering on the failure. We got some other interesting issues, but when John Kerry speaks, John F. Kerry, former senator, former presidential candidate, former war protester from Vietnam, he's just about got everything in the former category. Apparently now he is the climate czar for Biden. But these people are so idiotic. This is what he said. This is what John F. Kerry, Lurch is what he looks like. He says Americans, people would feel better, folks. They would feel better about the Russian war and the Ukraine war. They would only feel better if Russia, quote, makes a greater effort to reduce emissions. Now, I shared this one with Uman here. This is incredible, folks. It totally exemplifies the SHTF danger we're in, the risk we face, the sheer utter moronic retardation from Washington, D.C. acolytes. They are retarded, folks. Let's see. Uman's idea was, people might like Hitler better if they use solar power to make their ovens hot. And I responded with, well, maybe instead of using Zyklon B gas to murder everyone, maybe if they used natural chemicals. Or if they filled the rooms full of nothing but carbon dioxide so that the people would die on their own pollution. That would teach them. That would make it better. That's the type of mentality we're dealing with here. The fact is, Russia's at war with Ukraine. It's a special military operation, an SMO. It's between their two countries, though the rest of the world has gotten involved. Most of them on the side of Ukraine to no avail. They've decided they're going to fight it out. But we're supposed to say, well, we would like Russia a little better if they would just, cut their emissions. Russia is not the emission-producing country that the world gives a shit about. That would be China. That's right. China is the biggest polluter. Now, here we are. We would feel better. I don't want to feel better. I want to be better. But if Putin, folks, would make a greater effort to reduce emissions, we'd like him more. Well, he's making an effort to reduce emissions, but he needs to make a greater effort. So John F. Kerry says Putin is making an effort to reduce emissions. But if he makes a greater effort, we would feel better about it. You see, what they say matters. To them, it doesn't. There's no fucking rhyme or reason with these retards, folks. It is that silly. It's that bad. I mean, can you think of 100 different ways that the world's worst criminals, we would like them better if they'd have done things a little differently? Let's see. Jeffrey Dahmer, mass murderer, cannibal. Why would we like him better? Well, the only people he picked on were homosexuals. That's right. He would go down to a gay bar and he would find himself a tasty young homosexual boy to bring home and murder and freeze his feet and eat him, or whatever it is Jeffrey Dahmer did. Well, we would feel better about Jeffrey Dahmer if he would have eaten more than just homosexual men. Does that even sound remotely like something anyone would ever fucking say? Anyways, people would feel better about Russia's war. But what about Putin himself? Well, we had some sparks fly, apparently on Zero Hedge. They recorded an interview. There was a debate between Senator Ron Johnson and a former congressman. Now, the sparks were flying. Senator Ron Johnson said this: Ukraine has no choice but to negotiate with Putin. Well, the former congressman says Putin is a fucking thug. But I thought we were supposed to feel better about Russia. Can't we feel better about Putin? Senator Johnson, a current senator, says Ukraine has no choice but to negotiate with Putin, meaning Ukraine is losing. They're going to be forced to surrender. Now, here is a quote from Senator Johnson. The only way the war ends is in a negotiated settlement. That, my friends, is a fact. All wars end in a negotiated settlement. It's called suing for peace. Now, the leaders can be killed or they can flee the country. Whoever is in charge of whatever government is in place after a country gets its ass kicked, as our English British brethren would say, once you have sacked their capital and taken control of the government, now you find whoever you can to negotiate the settlement, the terms of their unconditional surrender. Now, Senator Johnson did say that Ukraine, the people in Ukraine say, I'm not going to like the settlement. No way. I think Senator Johnson was saying, I'm not going to like the settlement. Ukrainians aren't going to like it. Well, when you lose a fucking war, nobody who lost likes it. I don't think anyone who wins necessarily has to like what happened either. Let me remind the world that NATO and Washington, D.C., along with their allies and good buddies, decided they were going to fuck with Russia until Russia fought back. Poke the bear, that's what happens. So Putin is a fucking thug. Maybe if Putin would make a bigger effort to get Russia to reduce its emissions, maybe the rest of the world would be okay with Ukraine having a negotiated settlement to this war. Well, as it is, Russia, by freeing the breakaway states of Ukraine, they've liberated about 20% of the country from Zelensky and Kiev's control. They're not happy about it. I'll tell you what the negotiated settlement's going to be. The Azov battalion is to be forever, fully 100% removed, and no substitute or other Nazi battalion or unit, either in the ground, on the air, or the water, will be allowed. Furthermore, the breakaway republics or states that have joined the Russian Federation are to be acknowledged as separate, distinct, individual, independent, and sovereign units or states that can politically align themselves with whoever they wish. And Ukraine has to agree to that. Now we get to the fun part, folks. When shit hits the fan, let me ask you a question. Let's say you're in your neighborhood and it's hit the fan, and a bunch of Antifa and BLM come through, and they burn 20% of the homes to the ground. People are now homeless because of these thugs. Okay, these scumbags, these communists. Well, we get through all the trouble and we go to the government and we say, guess what? We're going to negotiate, right? These people were hurt by these other people. Who pays, folks? The losers of the fight, the losers of the war. The losers aren't going to like what they have to pay back. I think Ukraine is going to have to pay for all of the death, damage, and destruction that was caused to Russia, on top of losing 20% of their landmass, the Crimean Peninsula being deprived. They'll be told you have to agree to never join NATO, etc., etc. It's coming. I can't wait. It is going to make me laugh my ass off. These people are that fucked up, folks. But yeah, there should be some sort of payment, because once you win the war, you get to name the terms. Ukrainians aren't going to like it. Even Senator Ron Johnson says, I'm not going to like the settlement. But he is an American senator, and too bad. Literally, folks, when things go bad, people are going to die. Things are going to catch on fire. Things are going to be broken. And the key is, at the end of the day, at the end of the battle, at the end of the war, we, the people of this country, retain ownership and control, and we will dictate the terms of surrender by the New World Order. Well, it's going to be interesting. I wonder if I'll live to see that day. Crazy stuff. All right. Well, you know what? Let's do this. All right, I have an extended version of Let's Take a Wild Guess. Age 29, dead. Well, you know, a variety of health issues. Folks, when people die, typically they have some cardiac issues, or they seizures, maybe they have a stroke. You know, something bad goes on. Well, the person who died, age 29, had various health issues. Sounds to me like they had something in their body that the rest of their body didn't like. Let's just say you had neurological problems. Let's just say you had cardio, heart issues, enlarged heart. Let's just say you had blood clots going. Let's just say you had neuromuscular condition. Let's just say your lungs weren't working. Let's just say your organs shut down. That sounds like various, right? That's not just a heart attack. All the symptoms I just named are symptoms of Jim Jones juice. 29-year-old. Who is this person? A former University of Southern California football player. DJ Park. Dead, age 29. Super athlete, down. It's crazy. It's crazy. I want to thank Darcy T for making sure we've got these. How about this? Charon Dorsey. Dead. Stroke. Former Dallas Cowboys lineman. Age 46. Dead. Stroke. Super athlete. Done. How about this one? Once again, folks, what we're trying to do is name famous people, because it seems to have more of an impact on people. If I just said, well, you know, Fred Q. Smith or John Q. Jones, no one would be like, yeah, whatever. But when I talk about entertainment personalities, politicians, and sports figures, it makes a difference. Like this, a presenter, or rather newsman from the British Broadcasting Corporation. Well, he was age 32. He had a short illness, but then he died suddenly. Short illness. Well, yeah, when you die, that makes your illness very short. Very short indeed. And the pièce de résistance, folks. Chris Hunter. Do you know who Chris Hunter is? I've never heard of him in my life. Nope. I knew a Mike Hunt once, but not a Chris Hunter. Anyways, he's a super athlete, age 35. He died unexpectedly. I think everyone who dies instantly, suddenly, without cause, unexpectedly. This guy was a soccer referee. Super athlete. In order to be a ref, you've got to run up and down the fucking field the whole game. Just like the players. Age 35. This dude was in great shape, right? Nottingham Forest. They pay tribute to Chris Hunter, folks. Crazy. Just absolutely mind-boggling. Thank you, Darcy T, for making sure that we don't forget that the Jim Jones juice is out there, that they're still pushing it, threatening us, trying to use duress to fool us, to lie to us, etc., etc. So we take their bloody concoction. Oh, what a day, folks. What a week. What a fucking year 2024 is going to be. It truly is. Now, this morning, my discussion was about the Subway National Guard. Apparently, it's going to be extended to other forms of public travel and transportation. Well, in that, I briefly mentioned Joe Dumbass Scarborough, Morning Joe. And he's talking about President Biden. And this man is incredibly delusional. And I'm not talking about Biden. I'm talking about Joe Scarborough. What's incredible is Geraldo Rivera tried defending Joe Biden and sounded and looked like a fucking idiot. All the hoes on The View look and sound like idiots. They're all fucking idiots, folks. Every last Democrat has left intelligent thought just gone. I don't know how they do it. I can't even say the shit they say and find any way to believe it. I can't find 1%. Listen to this. This is what Joe Scarborough says. Quote, this version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. What fucking version is he talking about? Joe Biden 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 4.6? Joe Scarborough, version 7.62? I don't know what is a version. In other words, they keep doing trial balloons to see what Joe Biden, the world, is going to just fall in love with. What fucking Joe Biden is he talking about? Ice cream licking Joe Biden? Or little girl sniffing Joe Biden? Is he talking about mirror sunglasses Joe Biden? Or grab your wife's tit Joe Biden? Is he talking about falling out of airplanes and helicopters Joe Biden? Or is he talking about Joe Biden that doesn't know he's got top secret classified documents in his garage behind his Corvette, and in a college, and in an office, and at a school, and at a vacation home? What fucking Joe Biden are we on? Man, if you figure that out, please let me know. I need to know what this version of Joe Biden is. I just can't get it. I don't fucking get it. It's amazingly stupid of these people. Yet they say this shit every single day. They continue to offer excuses. Excuses do not matter in reality. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Stupid ideas that don't jive with reality, like, well, we should tell children to cut their dicks off and become transgender, trans testicles, because that's really a good way to live. It's incredible. There's nothing about that that's intelligent. I can't make myself say any of the Democrat policies that make any sense. They don't make a lick of sense. They really don't. They really don't. In fact, I heard something controversial today, and I thought about it some more, and it was hard to disagree. There was a bunch of woke idiot college kids wanted to try and play gotcha with someone who's basically philosophically and morally grounded. And the guy said, hey, look, if a 13-year-old is pregnant, that pregnancy could result in death of the 13-year-old. There could be complications that could make life difficult, right? So what he was arguing for was that if someone's raped and it's a 13-year-old, they need to have an abortion. And so the guy said this, and I thought about this. He made a pretty good statement. He goes, I don't believe in killing children at all. Don't believe in killing children. So no abortions, even if it's from rape. And the guy kept saying, well, there's a chance the girl can die because she's 13 or 14 or 12 or 15 or whatever the fucking age may be. And I thought about it. And leaving all that part aside, I thought, well, if we're worried about the potential of one person dying, the alternative, which is abortion, guarantees 100% that the baby will die. So they would choose death over a potential death. The further I look into Democrat thinking, if you want to call it that, it's more like ridiculous emotional reactions. There it goes. You know, they've lost it, folks. I know that abortion is one of those things, right, that just really upsets people. It just does. It just does. Darcy T. There we go. I've got more on Russia, more on Ukraine, more on what's going over there. Going to bounce back off of our domestic bullshit to international World War III SHTF. Russia has a top spy, folks. Narishkin is his name. And he was criticizing Emmanuel Macron's idea of sending NATO troops to fight in Ukraine directly against Russian troops. Now, Narishkin had this to say. He said, quote, this shows the high degree of political irresponsibility of Europe's leaders today, in this case, the president of France. He says, it is sad to see this, sad to observe, and sad to understand that the ability of current elites in Europe and the North Atlantic to negotiate is at a very low level, he said. They more and more rarely demonstrate any common sense at all. What I find amazing is negotiating is something that politicians are supposed to be good at. They're supposed to be able to have hard discussions and talks. But just like in America, Democrats and Republicans can no longer talk to each other. And in order to appease the other side, you have to compromise. I no longer think compromise, folks, is good, period. I think the entire world has been pushed too far with this idea of compromise, which means I'm going to have to give up something that I am fundamentally in belief of, in support of. I'm going to have to give up something that is fundamentally needed in order to get something else. Well, we're going to enter a time when there is no negotiations, and people are going to discriminate between what is right and wrong, and they're going to do what they think is right because the people in charge have no idea of what they're doing. For example, Washington, D.C. has no idea how bad they look, how discredited they are, and that they've done this to themselves. The FBI, folks, in Miami, the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation from Miami, has an urgent manhunt for Iranian intelligence officer. Well, wait a minute. How did a fucking intelligence officer from Iran get into the state of Florida, get into the United States of America? Well, this intelligence officer, Iranian, has been accused of plotting assassinations of several Trump officials. So how did they find out about this? Do you think that the cohorts, the partners in crime of the Iranian intelligence officer, which means Iranian FBI, the Iranian CIA. Why would they be talking to the FBI? Unless the FBI had infiltrated this Iranian intelligence officers group, join them, a terror group, folks, because that's what this is. When you plot assassinations of Trump officials, you're now member of a terrorist organization. So the FBI, is that how they discover this? Well, rather than engaging in a manhunt, it would seem to me that the FBI are more likely to recruit, infiltrate, train, brainwash, arm, and then plan the assassinations. It's more likely they're going to do all that than try and stop anything. History does not lie. The FBI know about mass shooters left and right. All these left-wing lunatic transsexual darlings of the left that become mass murderers. Always seems like the FBI knew about them, heard about them, was in contact with them, and in a lot of cases, and they try and cover it up, they actually are, shall we say, compadres, friends. You know, we're just helping them out with some training. Oh, really? Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. But that's what's going on, folks. Yeah, we got Iranians in the country, and they want to threaten to assassinate executive officials of President Trump's. How does that make you feel? Do you feel safer? Maybe if Iran would lower their emissions, we could all feel better about them. Right, John Kerry? That'll fix everything. It's hit the fan. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Now, before we switch over to your topics, which you need to get in the questions, comment section, I want to tell you a little bit about Florida. Sheriff Grady Judd is back in front of the news cameras, and he has a huge, huge accusation. What he did is he revealed, folks, how the United States federal government, Sheriff Grady Judd has revealed how Washington, D.C., Sheriff Grady Judd has revealed how the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., how the law enforcement in Washington, D.C., how the Department of Homeland Security in Washington, D.C. has provided unlimited plane tickets for illegals, free, unlimited free plane tickets to illegals to any destination in the United States. And they're trafficking women in the sex trade this way. The federal government is providing free sex trade trafficking through this system. This is a huge accusation, folks. Huge. And if you look at the evidence, it clearly demonstrates that that's what's happening. Maybe that wasn't the intended purpose, but that is how it's being used. So I'll ask you this question. Based on what you know of Washington, D.C., Joe Biden, John Good Feelings Kerry, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Obama with his hot dogs and pizza parties. Do you think these assholes in D.C., these elites, do you think they really don't like what's going on with the illegals and the drugs and the murder and the prostitution and the sex trafficking and the child, shall we say, abuse? I don't think they give a shit. In fact, they probably, in my opinion, I'm going to go out on a limb that they really think it's cool. I think they really do want this to happen. Frost my fucking cake, folks. Let's do this. Let's get into the inner circle, folks. The inner circle. I want to thank everybody who, from time to time, send in regular donations, CashApp donations, Super Chat donations throughout the week. Every little penny helps. Every little penny helps. So thank you again. And here we go. Woo! Very good. Right on target. Mr. Hooman, let's see where this goes. We got a lot on the board today, apparently. What do we have, Mr. Hooman? He's going to start off with his own. Hooman is cut to the front of the line. He says, wow, reports are big blue cities. That would be Democrat cities. And that's most of the major metropolises, folks. Major metropolises like San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and, of course, New Orleans. Anyways, big blue cities are embracing conservative anti-crime measures. Since when? I just want to ask this question without reading any more from Mr. Hooman. Since when is identifying criminal behavior and arresting the criminal and sending them to court to have a trial and then convicting them if guilty and sending them to jail after the sentencing? How is that a conservative anti-crime measure? I thought that was just plain old fucking law and order. Anyways, Hooman says San Francisco is proposing drug tests for welfare recipients. Are you saying, Mr. Hooman, that in order to get welfare in San Francisco, you have to take drugs? That you go do the drug test, they're like, we're going to give you some more welfare, but you're not smoking enough crack. You're not taking enough fentanyl, right? It's incredible to me. It wouldn't surprise me if that's really what their intent is. Now, I am sure, how do they do this? If you take drugs, you don't get welfare. Now, I kind of agree with that. In fact, if you get welfare, you need to work. Cleaning roads, cleaning highways, cleaning up. You're getting money. You may, nothing is free. I don't get any free money. Nobody gives me shit for free. If I didn't have a job, no one would give me money or food. They'd say, go to work. So if the government gives you someone else's money, shouldn't you have to work for it? Anyways, that fucking welfare recipients, that's a fight that is never going to end. Never, ever, ever, as long as a single Democrat holds office. Hooman continues, Washington wants criminals jailed while awaiting trial. That actually makes a little sense. You don't just let them out with no bail, no money, no cost, nothing, and hope they come back for their arraignment and court hearing. And not to mention the NG in NYC. The story said that this would have been politically heretical a few years ago. Yeah, political heresy. Well, if you're a Democrat, look what they're doing to New York City, folks. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Chicago. Did I leave out Pittsburgh and Buffalo, New York? Name a big city. There are shitholes, folks. They are. They are awful places. I don't know why people would go to an awful big city. Go down to Miami. Hey, you get beat up and shot by people who are there on vacation because they can't help but bring their stupid violence with them. Crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy. There's going to have to be an end to it one way or the other, folks. You can't have people being thrown on the subway tracks all day long, every day, without there being a consequence. It's going to happen. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hooman. Political heresy. Reminds me of the scene in Planet of the Apes. Yeah, where if you say anything against their agenda, that's heresy. Okay, Mr. Hooman, who is next? Cyberhana checking in. And someone today, it just reminded me, yeah, Cyberhana, Heidi used to send messages and say, keep on keeping on. Someone said that to me today. I was like, Joe Dirt, is that you? Anyway, Cyberhana says, perfectly planned chaos. Here comes help from the government, just in time. Everything, folks, is Hegelian dialect now. Everything. The government creates a problem, then the government offers the solution, which is the government taking more power, more authority, more money, asking you to surrender or limit your rights and give them up in order for government to protect us from the very thing that it caused. The government has caused a huge problem with this illegal thing, but they'll fix it. Don't worry. In California, the government will make these illegals responsible Americans by giving them loans to buy houses in the state of California. How the fuck does that make a lick of sense? If people are leaving California because they cannot afford the housing, how the fuck can an illegal alien with no ID, no job, no education, no skills, how are they going to make a single fucking payment? They have no credit history, no credit score, no job record, no definable skills, and we're just going to give them a fucking house and hope they make payments. With whose money? Since they don't have any of their own. Oh, your money. So now we're going to finance the illegal occupation by illegals in our country. It used to be, folks, that buying a house and having your own property was the American dream. That used to be the American dream. You can own your own little piece of America as an American. And then they decided to start taxing you to own your own property. Ultimately, in the 50 years you own your house, you will pay the government 100% of that property's value. And if you had a mortgage, you will pay at least 100% of the value of that property for the privilege of borrowing money from a federally funded bank. You see how many times you give up value to own a house? Makes sense to me. Give me more of that. But these illegals are here. They're being given a piece of America, and you are paying for it. You're paying for their food. You're paying for their homes. Look, we've got kids. We've got $5 trillion or $6 trillion worth of college tuition debt, student loan debt. And we're being told by the students that they don't want to pay it. Well, no shit. I don't want to pay my bills either. But I don't want to be living on the street. I like my bunker. This is where we're heading. Perfectly planned chaos? Well said. They're planning it. They're making it happen. They're going to destroy everything. And then what? You got a bunch of fucking squatter illegals inside our homes while Americans are homeless, while veterans are homeless, while Americans go hungry, while Americans lose their hope and lose their love of country because the country is no longer the same. Chaos, Cyberhana, chaos. Okay, Mr. Uman, let us continue if we shall. What do we got next? Who is on the board? We have Name Redacted. Here's what Name Redacted has to say. The Transport Workers Union, not the Transgender Workers Union, but the Transport Workers Union in Philly, Pennsylvania, has been trying to browbeat the public transportation system to bring in the guard since Operation COVID began. Well, that's interesting. So the Transport Workers Union, that is to say people who work in the subways, work for the subway train drivers, employees, etc., they have been begging, folks, the public transit system, that is the government. These transit systems are not run by private companies, folks. They're run by the government. And they have needed some sort of security since, well, Operation COVID. I'll tell you what, Name Redacted, if I lived in a city, I would not take public transportation. Not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Wouldn't be prudent. No, it's incredible. Yeah, this has been going on for years. It started during the COVID issue with the defund the police and then the exaggerated reports of, well, black people being hunted by white people. Remember that? Do you remember that fallacy, that enormous lie that blacks were being hunted by cops and by white people? That's right, folks. That's how it goes. They completely ignore black on black crime and only focused on white on black crime or police action against black Americans. They completely blew the race card, just blew the roof off the house with it. And here we are. They started getting rid of police. They started making it socially acceptable, even though illegally it wasn't, to attack police, to shit on police. You know, I've got a lot of problems with heavy-handed police. I have a lot of problems with police abuse because it is the state through its agents abusing the people. I got a lot of problems with them. But we need a police. We need a constabulary, a sheriff's department and posse, if you will. We need that to help others, to deter crime, and yeah, to write nice reports once they find that all the people who are bad have been shot. That would be great. But it's just going to get worse. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface on how bad it's going to get. And as dumb as these people are, name redacted and crew, as dumb as they are, the ignorance and stupidity and ridiculous decisions are going to get worse. It's interesting that Democrat cities are now screaming for police. Help, help. We need more police. Help, help. We need conservative law fight, law. We go, okay, then go hire more police. Arrest people who commit crimes. Oh, we don't want to do that now. Come on. We need some help, but we don't want to do anything like that. I mean, we got all these criminals now that we let in the country, whether it's crazed, lunatic, homeless people who think they can get away with everything, including murder, or illegals who think they can get away with everything, including murder, theft, robbery, rape, drug sales, prostitution, human trafficking, child molestation, rape. These people are sick. And now they're like, wow, we don't know what happened. We thought we had a fucking Democrat utopia going. SHTF. You want to know what that's like, shit-hitting the fan? Go someplace, somewhere that you know you shouldn't be. Stand around for about an hour looking lost. You will be cased and you will be victimized. I mean, people that are getting victimized now, they don't wait around for it. You go ahead and wait around. Someone's going to see that you don't know what's going on, and they're going to come after you. Thank you, name redacted. Mr. Uman, what else have we got out there? I'm curious. What the fuck is going on out there? Mikey G says he faked contact several times to qualify for the Combat Infantry Badge, CIB. Who the fuck faked contact?
That would be John Kerry.
Oh, that fucking guy. John F. Kerry. I believe because he is an effete fucking East. Let me try that again. Back up. He's an effete liberal East Coast snob. That's what he is. He's a fucking snob. He was an officer during Vietnam. I think he was on a PT boat. The PT boats were the boats that went up and down the rivers in Vietnam and would from time to time engage with the Viet Cong, the enemy. He has faked his whole fucking life, Mikey. So it wouldn't surprise me that he wouldn't fake, contact. To me, it's just disgusting. Look, go up and down the river. If someone shoots at you, make a fucking note. Have witnesses sign the statement. Done. By the way, PT boats were made famous in the movie Apocalypse Now, as Charlie Sheen had to go up the river to go find Marlon Brando so he could assassinate him. Anyways, I don't get it. I don't get these fucking people. Like Senator McCain. Right. And then, Senator Joe Biden, his son, Hunter, was put in the military. He was apparently a naval officer, had a little bit of a cocaine problem, though. Seems like all these Democrats and rhinos, when they go in the service, they seem to have problems. Now, sure, everyone has problems with service and war, etc. But Why do they get to be heroes? Why do they get rewarded for their bullshit, like John Kerry? He should have never been elected a senator. He's a sack of shit and he's a liar. Same with Senator John McCain. There's some problems with McCain's story and what he did in Vietnam, but he got to be Senator McCain. I have pictures of him shaking hands and taking pictures with terrorists in Syria. The same terrorists who took pictures with dead children and children in cages that they murdered. They believe that what they're doing is good, folks, I guess, or it's just they believe what they're doing is good for them, that it's going to enrich them. It's unbelievable. The amount of corruption in Washington, D.C. makes me want to vomit. In fact, folks, someone is calling them out, and this is going to cause trouble. You may have remembered the name Harriet Hagman. She is now a congresswoman in the U.S. House of Representatives. Harriet Hagman. She's from Wyoming and is a Republican. And if you recall, she replaced Liz Piggy, the wannabe bullshit lying sack of crap. Boy, was she. Daughter of Dick Cheney. That's his daughter who ran as a Republican, but she sat on the January 6th committee and allowed all manner of lies and bullshit propaganda, censored information to be used to persuade folks, Americans in the world, to believe that an insurrection took place and that Trump was responsible. So yeah, there was no doubt that she was going to pay that price. So fuck you, Liz Piggy. She was replaced. So Representative Harriet Hagman, she's got some, shall we say, duty to fulfill. So she said that the Bidens, folks, are, quote, the most corrupt family ever in a position of power. Does she have all the paperwork on the Clintons? Does she have all the paperwork on the Obamas? The Clintons, folks, at this point, after that statement, are embarrassed. They are embarrassed that Harriet Hagman would give the Bidens that coveted position of most corrupt scumbag Democrats. The Clintons are, they're like, hey, those Bidens are brain dead. We're better at being evil than them. Can you imagine Bill and Hillary going, holy shit, someone's worse than us? How many people have been murdered, right, for knowing the Bidens? Well, apparently their corruption extends into other circles, like shaking down the mayor's wife, the Moscow, Russia mayor's wife, $1 million, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden on Burisma, the huge energy giant in Ukraine. And Ukraine has the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. Well, no longer. Sorry about that, Ukraine. The nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia is now belonging to independent states and part of the Russian Federation. But they shook them down for money and then told them they don't get money unless they stop investigating Hunter's crimes. Hunter shook down China, right, and said, I got the big guy on the phone. Stop fucking around. You better stand up to your deal or we're going to come get you. Yada, yada, yada. These are the people, the Bidens. Let's take showers with our granddaughters. Let's smoke crack. Let's snort cocaine off of hookers' asses. Let's drive 150 miles an hour while on drugs. No problem. James Biden. Can you imagine being Joe Biden's brother? He's like, man, Joe, calm it down. I'm trying to shake some people down for some more money over here, and getting too much attention. Too much heat is on me. Crazy shit. And then you got someone like John Kerry. He's a fucking amateur compared to the corruption of the Bidens and the Clintons and the Obamas. But yeah, he just wanted some glory for himself, folks. Wanted some glory for himself. So he faked contact. That is to say, enemy contact, because he wanted to have a combat infantry badge. If you want a combat infantry badge, Go to where the people shooting each other are at. They're pretty much fucking guaranteed at that point. Thank you, Mikey G. Mr. Uman, where do we want to roll next? And yeah, Harriet Wagaman, she's going to get whacked. Barking Wolf Spider says, my opinion on the get out of baby is pro-life and pro-choice. The most sacred right is to the self. If you choose to take out your new generation, I will not stand in your way. More life for me. There you go. What you're saying is for you, let others do whatever they want. Okay. The most sacred right is to self. Sorry. I can't really agree with you there, Barking Wolf Spider. The sacred right is to self and not inflict harm on others. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you is the golden rule. So I'll take this argument. The most sacred right is not to self. It's not to harm others. Even Google used to say they would do no harm, and then the first fucking thing they do after that is harm everyone they can. We have sacred duties to ourselves. We have to preserve our own life, of course, and then we can help others. Allowing someone to kill innocents is wrong. The same way you're not allowed to kill adults or children, the elderly. You shouldn't be allowed to kill anyone. The question of whether or not an infant is alive, I think there ought to be this thing called a heartbeat certificate. You got a birth certificate of live birth. Why not a certificate of a heartbeat? You are now a human being, registered. Anyways, pro-life and choice. There are many opportunities to not get pregnant. I don't know why people completely negate all responsibility for their actions and then decide, well, now that my actions have resulted in a situation that I'm uncomfortable with or I don't want to have to deal with because of my maturity or my lack of intelligence, I now think that it's time for a human being to die because of it. A human being that doesn't have a voice because its lungs are full of water or because it's contained within someone else's body. That is part of the life process. So the most sacred right is to self. Self-preservation, okay, let's make that number one. But do unto others as they would have them do unto you. How would we feel if somebody said, you know what, we don't think that your life exists until you've lived to age 75. And so therefore we can just kill you. Well, that's an arbitrary rule, isn't it? I just made up a fucking number. So everyone under the age of 75 can be murdered because it's not murder, because you're not considered to be having lived a life. Therefore, you have no right to life until you reach 75. It's an arbitrary number and an arbitrary notion and idea that we can just murder whoever we want based on an arbitrary rule of, well, I feel it's just fine. There's got to be a moral foundation. There's got to be a rule that we have to live up to rather than what is easiest for me. The most sacred right is to self. Self-preservation does come first. Having a baby is no guarantee that you're going to die, so you have no right to kill a baby. You would just say, well, my life's at risk. Your life is at risk when you get on a fucking subway, when you get on a fucking airplane or a damn train or a bus, or if you go out into traffic, or if you go to school, or if you go to church, or if you go to a shopping mall, your life is in danger. We all face that. So to claim that you have a right to start killing people of any age for whatever moral reason we think is satisfactory, I think is a logical fallacy. It's incorrect. You're skipping steps. It's a non sequitur to say, well, once I establish that the most sacred right is to myself, then no one else matters. That is very, very much, I think, off base. Anyways, what I'm not doing, Mr. Barking Wolf Spider, is picking on you. What I am doing is just mulling the thoughts over in my head. Some people will believe, no matter what I have to say or anyone else has to say, they'll believe that the abortion is a right. It is not a right, but it is something that happens that people do whether we like it or not. It's a practice that's been around for millions, well, let's step back, thousands of years that we know of, and probably millions if the scientists are correct that humans have been around a lot longer than they state. Some scientists believe that. But yeah, it's been from the beginning of time. This idea that, oh shit, I don't want to be pregnant because my dad will be mad, my mom will be mad, the church will be mad. It's a bastard. I'm not married. Socially not acceptable. I'm ashamed. I'm upset. I'm afraid. I'll be kicked out. I'll be kicked out of my town. I'll lose my place. I'll get kicked out of home. No one will hire me. My life will be ruined. I get it. I truly do. I truly do. Life is very difficult. You live with the consequences of your actions, and we, meaning me as well, all have to live with the lot that life has thrown us. What I mean is the circumstances of our life, who we are. I don't think we get to choose. And then the actions that happen that shape us and take us down different paths. We can't just claim that, well, I don't like that, it threatens me, so I'm going to start killing people. Anyways, we'll leave that one be. It's going to continue to be a question. Right? I can't leave this one alone. It's a great one. The most sacred thing is to myself. Well, does that mean that I get to take people's money because I'm more sacred than they are? Yeah. Anyways, Uman says, I look at it as this. If the enemy is killing itself off, why stop them? I do understand that. I understand that the people who are most likely to get an abortion are Democrats and socialists and communists. So therefore, they are not reproducing at as high a rate as everyone else. I tell you what, someone I know the other day told me, he says, John, my girl is pregnant. We're getting married. She's pregnant. And I congratulated him. I said, that is amazing. He said, it took some time to convince the girl that having an abortion isn't a good idea. And it's because she was scared. Confused, scared, worried about her future. And so that's how you get rid of it, right? You get rid of the fear in that. Women that get abortions, by and large, develop mental problems, depression, guilt, shame, all manner of light to heavy duty psychological trauma and problems, not to mention the physiological issues that come with artificially terminating a pregnancy. But we want to ignore all that and say, well, I don't get it. But I do understand the people that are getting the most abortions are people that we don't fucking like, and I don't want them creating more people like themselves. I get that. I think that they should go sterilize themselves is what I think. I'm not going to do it. Right? But anyways, this concept, this idea of the self being sacred, that's something that I'd like to visit again under some other circumstances or some other scenarios. The importance of the self over, say, a group or an organization. Let us move on for now, though. We're running out of time. Mr. Uman, I got time for one more, and it's Cyber Hannah. She said, back in 2015, I could have swore there wasn't going to be another selection, meaning election. That's when Donald Trump came on the scene with a big mouth, jade helm, and lots of military movement, and nothing feels the same now. Rome granted citizenship to over 30 million people for political purposes. Same here. Well, you just threw a bunch of stuff at me, Cyber Hannah. Rome, folks. You could be a subject or you could be a citizen. Subjects are slaves. Citizens of Rome had special rights or privileges. In fact, you had no rights in Rome. It was all privileges. If Rome granted citizenship to people, it would have been to enrich Rome, not because Rome wanted to give things away and make people happy and give away their treasury. So why did they grant citizenship? I think bringing that into the question would make some sense. Anyways, thank you again, everybody. I had a good time with this. I'm feeling much better. Felt like shit yesterday and the last couple of days, but feeling great again. Whatever I had, I seem to be over it. You know what? I can't leave this one alone. Fuck. I'll do it. Everyone hang tight. Just a few more minutes. The military, they call them juntas. How about this? The military governments, the martial law governments, the military juntas of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali have all created, folks, these three countries, a joint task force. Now, we've heard about Niger and the fact that the militants who took over the country kicked France out of the fucking country and have told America, get out of their country. They said, it's our country. Get the fuck out. No more bases, no more of your shit. Well, what is going on over there, folks? Well, in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, they've got a problem with Islamic jihadis. That's right, folks. Holy war fighters. This is creating another huge World War III issue. And it's in Africa because the West, meaning the United States and Europe, they like to use Islamic jihadis to commit terror in these third world countries in Africa and in Asia and around the world to destabilize and take control of those nations. And it's interesting that the African nations, through their military governments, are resisting this shit and trying to put an end to it by creating this task force. I find it fascinating, folks. I find it absolutely fascinating. The Chinese, even though they're fascist communists, have decided they're going to use money as their means of engaging in conflict resolution, aka war. War is a means to end conflict by using a lot of conflict. There's a lot of stuff that's going to get even hotter, folks, and we're all going to end up learning. We're all going to end up learning about it. Anyways, here we go, folks. Here we go. I'll see you tomorrow, 0 dark 30.